I work in a nursery at the moment as a deputy manager, and I completed my level 2 and 3 with access training. And at the moment I'm doing a management course level 3, and I was asked by Nikki to come and sort of do a little talk about my culture and everything. She's one of the tutors here. So I've just come to tell you a bit about myself, basically, you know, what I believe in, what we wear and everything, just to give you sort of some insight into that. I'm a Muslim, and does anybody know what religion Muslims follow? Yeah, Islam. And it's one of the fastest growing religions in the world at the moment. And we have 5 pillars what we follow. Basically 5 guidelines that all Muslims should be practicing and following. We believe in one God, and we call him Allah, and that's in Arabic. We believe in the prophets, and the last prophet was Prophet Muhammad, as we call him, and he actually, through him, our holy book, which, does anybody know the holy book that we follow? The Quran. Yeah? Right. That's what we follow, and that's written in Arabic. And we believe the main difference between Christianity and Islam is we believe Jesus is a prophet. That's the main difference. Everything else is very, very similar. The second pillar that we follow is basically, it's called Zakat, which means basically sharing your wealth with the needy, the poor, the homeless, orphans. So basically what happens is, on a yearly basis, what happens is you work out your extra income, your savings, how much gold you've got, how much land you've got, and then from every £100 you should give £2.50 to a poor person, an orphan or a widow, and that's done on a yearly basis. And you need to do that basically. And normally we do that once a year, just after, has anybody heard of fasting? Ramadan? So it's normally done during that period, but you can actually give it at any time. The third one is fasting, which I sort of just briefly mentioned to yourselves. Does anybody know anything about fasting? You might know also it's called Ramadan. And basically what happens is it's done on a yearly basis, and it's between 29 and 30 days. And what happens is you don't have no fluids, no water, no drinks, nothing, no solids, no food, during daylight hours. So what we do is we get up in the morning just before sunrise, so that's like 3-4 in the morning. We'll have like a meal, or try to have a meal. So obviously, as you can understand, it's quite hard to get up at that time and eat something. And then we don't eat nothing all day, and then at sunset, that's when we break our fast, and that's when we have all that food actually. It's hard, it does take time, but you get used to it, and we normally do it for 29 to 30 days, so about a month. And that's an important part of our religion, and that's done on a yearly basis. Does anybody want to ask anything?
When do you do it?
It changes every year. This year was in the summer holidays, so as you can imagine, I used to get up in the morning about 2-3 o'clock, have something to eat, and then it would be about 9 o'clock at night. So it's a good solid 18 hours. And with the heat wave we have, there's 1 degree in between. And again, I forgot to mention, with fasting, there are certain people that are exempt from it. If you're really elderly, you're heavily pregnant, if you're on medication, or if you've got any disabilities that don't allow you to fast, or for a female, if you're on your periods, you're exempt from fasting. So that's number 3. So first you've got a Quran Allah, then you've got zakat, then you've got fasting, and then the 4th one is namaz. Another word for that is salah, which is all practicing Muslims pray 5 times a day, and that's done at different times of the day. And in order to pray, you have to be in a clean state first of all, so you have to sort of wash yourself, and then you have prayer mats. They can be in any colour, any design, but this is an example of one. You have to have it facing at a certain angle, and basically it's facing the Qibla, which is in Saudi Arabia, and it's sort of west facing, and that's where we face, and that's on this map. This is where we do our prayers 5 times a day. Like I said, you have to cover yourself and everything. You've got to be in a clean state. Women have to cover their head like I've done, so you can't see any hair. And men, they just wear hats. I mean, that's an example of a little boy's hat. That's the man's hat. It's done 5 times a day.
What do you pray about?
Sorry?
What do you pray about?
Basically, it's a set kinds of prayers that you say depending on what time it is, and it's different. Some are longer, some are shorter, and it's from the Quran. You read prayers from that. Is there anything you want to ask about?
You know, because you work, is there any difficulty in you being able to pray within your working time?
Some workplaces are, they'll allow you breaks to do that, or what I've done sometimes is in the evenings you can always make up for it. And then number 5, it's Hajj. Basically, again, that is every year after fasting. A month of fasting, we have a celebration to celebrate the end of that, but I'm going to go into that in more details later. And then 10 weeks later, we in Saudi Arabia, I don't know if anybody's aware of it, millions of people all around the world, Muslims, go there, and if you can afford it, you're requested to go once in your lifetime. Basically, that's our holy place. And we go there to, basically it's just a spiritual journey for yourselves, and once you come back you're forgiven of all your sins and everything, and it's something all Muslims work towards going. I mean, I'm from Kashmir, which is near India and Pakistan, so I've got influences of both countries, and the sort of food that we eat is, as you mentioned, koras, samosas, then you've got your chicken tikka masalas, you've got your chapatis, which have come, nowadays they're sort of in everybody's cupboards, aren't they? As you probably aware, it's spicy food, lots of spices, lots of colour in our food. I've brought some examples for you to try at the end of the session. It's all vegetarian, so please help yourself. Now I'm going to go into sort of the clothes that we wear. This is a traditional Asian Pakistani boy's outfit. That's the top, and then that's a little bottom, something that a little boy would probably wear. It's traditional clothing in probably Pakistan, Kashmir, and it's just basically a top with bottoms, and then you would probably wear shoes similar to this, but this is sort of just not everyday wear, it's just for festivals, outings or parties and things like that. And for a woman, mainly, they wear normally is a top, which is called a kameez, and then they have sort of trousers, which is called a salwar. And they come in various colours, designs, a lot of embroidery, colours, and basically you can, depending on the season, that's what you wear. I've brought some scarves and things for you to look at, and some bangles and earrings and things. So please help yourself at the end of the session. Some Muslim women, they'll wear a hijab, which is what I've got on, a scarf on top of their clothing. Then other women, they'll wear another sort of a gown on top, just to cover your body. That's optional. Again, that's personal choice. Women should only be showing their face and their hands and below the ankles. They should refrain from wearing thin clothes, see-through clothes, fitted clothes. And one way of sort of protecting their modesty and everything is, just covering their face basically, so you can just see the eyes. But again, that's optional, personal choice. It's not compulsory. Okay, has anybody ever been to an Asian wedding? Yeah. Right, they're very big weddings. I'm still recovering from one. It was about 3 weeks long. And it was a neighbour's wedding. Yeah. They can go on for weeks and weeks and weeks, depending on how much money you've got. Basically, the more money you've got. Yeah.
For a wedding.
Yeah. It's basically, we have lots of celebrations, lots of girls' nights, lots of boys' nights. You can have up to 3-4 receptions. On and off, it can take a couple of weeks. So, lots of food, yeah. And typically, Asian brides, they tend to wear brighter colours. Mostly, again, I'd say the reds. A lot of them wear sort of maroony colours with a lot of gold and things. And this is actually my wedding suit, like 20 odd years ago. It's the scarf from it anyway. So, again, bright colours with lots of gold, lots of embroidery on it, and has anybody come across Mendi? Yeah. Basically, that again is lots of the brides wear it. It's a natural dye, and they get their hands all patterned and everything, and that sort of lasts about 2 weeks. It's temporary. That's about it, I think, on weddings. Also, now I'm going to go into what we celebrate. After our fasting, we fast for 29, 30 days, and after that we celebrate. Has anybody ever heard of Eid? Yeah? Right. So we fast for 30 days. After that we celebrate Eid al-Fitr, to celebrate the ending of the fasting. Again, on Eid Day, typically what happens is basically everybody wears new clothes, the men and the boys go to the mosque and they say the prayers there. The women traditionally cook at home, make lots of food, and then you have family, friends around for dinner, vice versa, you'll go around to family and friends, and it's one of the most important celebrations in the Islamic calendar. Then after that, 10 weeks later, then people go for Hajj to Saudi, and then that's when we celebrate our second celebration. It's basically our Christmas, basically, and the second one is called Eid al-Adha. That's celebrated 10 weeks after our first celebration. And on this one, what we do is a lot of people sacrifice an animal and give the meat to the poor and needy. And again, you have lots of family and friends coming around dinner, lots of food, nice clothes, and it can go on for 2 or 3 days sometimes, depending on your family. They can do a cow, a lamb, sheep, Yeah, basically then.
You can apply humane there or inhumane
They are killed in a certain way, and has anybody, obviously you might have come across halal? Yeah, halal food or halal meat. Basically, they're killed in a certain way. It's from their neck, and all their blood is drained. It's left to drain.
So it's left to dance now?
No, it's a quick death. No, it's a quick death, but and you've got to say a prayer, and then it's killed from a certain area, and all the blood is sort of drained from the body. What you do is you go to the butchers, and they'll do it for you, and they'll give you the meat pre-packed. Is there any other questions? You know, yeah. Yeah, you can take it off at home. Mine's always off. It shouldn't be off in front of other males, but your brother, your husband, your father, your nephews, you don't have to cover up in front of them.
So just two comments.
Yeah, you immediate, you know, you can't marry basically. You can't marry your dad, you can't marry your brother. People like that, your nephews, your granddad.
Is there a reason for that? Like, why can't other guys see your hair?
It's basically, you know, your hair is part of your, for a woman it's part of your beauty, isn't it? And it's basically just to protect you from getting attention from men and modesty. Yeah, and you cover your body up.
So what, is it true you're not allowed to shave as well?
See, you can.
Oh, is it? Oh, I don't know.
Any other questions, guys?
So as soon as you have a shower, do you put it back on?
If I'm at home, I only put it when I go out. As soon as I'm through the door, I want it on. Because you've had it on all day, you want some fresh air sort of thing. But I must say, I've only recently started putting it on within the last couple of years. It's optional. And most girls, they're sort of, it's once you reach puberty, it's more, you should be putting your scarf on them. Anything else?
Do you know that, have you ever made like that type of clothing? Because it must, like, it's proper detailed, so do you know how long it'll take just to make like a piece of clothing like that?
Obviously I've not made it, but it's mostly made in India and Pakistan. A lot of it, like, this is sort of all done by a machine. This isn't handmade, this one isn't. So on a machine you're talking minutes. You know, they put a design on it, it goes through the machine and it's done. Then you sort of get to sort of like this, and this, I presume this was probably done by machine and hand. Like, that's machine, and then the sequins probably done by hand. And then you go on to something like the scarf you've seen. The actual flowers and everything, they're done by machine, but the can you see on top of it, you've got all the sequins, the beads and everything. I'd say they would, yeah, you can tell by the stitching, they've been done by hand. But I couldn't say how long. Yeah.
What's the youngest that gets married?
Sorry?
The youngest that gets married? I wonder.
Sorry, I don't understand what you mean.
I was the youngest person in your religion to get married.
Why would you have to get married?
Whenever you're ready.
So you could like 15?
I wouldn't say 15, 16, but it's basically when, you know, you've got a mutual agreement, or, you know, you've got someone to get married to.
Is it arranged?
There is some arranged marriages. Yeah. Yeah, that's more cultural. It's not within the religion. In religion, basically, both sides should be in agreement to it. But arranged marriage, that depends on your culture, where you're from, what your parents believe, what you believe. And again, there's arranged marriages, and some are semi-arranged, and some are love marriages. And nowadays, what we're seeing is more girls and boys choosing their own life partners. It's not sort of like the good, back in the days.
So like arranged marriages, like you get told who you're going to marry.
Arranged marriage is basically both sides of the party sort of, say, the boys' side would come to the girls' house and say, we want your daughter's hand in marriage, and then it's up to the parents and the daughter to say yes or no.
But the daughter's own first said yes, she got to do it.
Again, it depends on, your family and everything. I mean, I'd say I was semi-arranged. What my parents did was they said to me, you've got A, B, C or D, and you choose who you want to marry from there. Then I chose my husband. So I call it semi-arranged. But nowadays I think the girls are definitely, standing their ground, they're choosing their life partners, they've got a say in everything, and they won't tolerate as much as they did 20, 30 years ago, I say. But then again, you can say that for every country, In this country 50, 60 years ago, I'd say women tolerated more than now. Divorce is on the increase everywhere you go.
Do you know if they were gonna one of them was gonna have an affair, had an affair? Would it what would the family be strongly disagree with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously it's a bad thing, but would be disown them or something
It could come to that in some families.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Shall I say a serious offence?
So you're allowed to date anyone before you marry at all? Say you're 13, 14 and you go to school and you meet somebody like...
No, if you do like somebody, you can tell your parents.
Imagine. What if you dated them for a bit then, brought them back to your house, let your mum and your dad and your brother everyone meet them and then you decided, I don't want nothing to do with it. You're allowed to bring another one back You're allowed to bring another one back a couple of days later, or is there a time limit where you've got to leave it, you can't just bring it all back every week?
It depends on, every family is different, isn't it? What rules you've got in your house, you probably haven't. What you've got, she hasn't. It depends on your parents and how sort of open-minded they are, how westernised they are, how Islamic they are, how practicing they are. So you can't put everybody on the same boat. Limit of what you should tolerate, and if you're in an unhappy marriage and everything, you are allowed to separate from your husband. You are allowed to ask for a divorce, but obviously there is a procedure that you follow.
So say if you hit you or something, or that you fought, you're allowed to divorce them then?
Yeah, you can. But it's like I say, there's a procedure that you have to follow, and basically he has to divorce you, and once he's divorced you, you can't marry anybody for 3 months and 10 days, and then you can marry somebody else. But
you marry somebody else with kids, so say you've got kids. And you've got kids.
But the only thing is, you can't marry your husband again. Once he's divorced you,
so you can never get back with him again.
No. Once I could do a whole day's talk on this. Basically, once you're divorced, for a certain amount of days you can't get married, and the reason why you can't get married is in case you're pregnant and you didn't know, and then this way you have that length of time, and obviously you'll know if you're pregnant or not within that time, and then after that time you are allowed to marry somebody else, but you can't marry your husband. And the only way you can remarry him, say you're married, you had a heated argument, he said divorce to you and stuff, and you're divorced, but then afterwards you both regret it, once everything's cooled down and everything. The only way you can remarry him is after that period, you get married to somebody else, and then if he ever divorces you, your second husband, then you can go back to him.
So if you had a second husband, right, who knew you was only marrying you to get back to your first husband,
so it's complicated because, otherwise you don't understand the seriousness of it, because people would just divorce left, right and centre. So before you divorce your wife, you know what you're getting into. It's very rare that you can. Any other?
What about if you're living by yourself, right, like 30 and you haven't been married yet?
Yeah.
Are your brother and your dad still got to come round when you meet the person you like?
Yeah, there should be. Yeah. But most are married by that age anyway.
But then, don't you think that could cause more divorces, like getting married earlier? get married young.
If you're ready, you're ready. But what I have found is, I mean, I got married at 17, and nowadays they are getting married later. So things are changing. You know, they are getting married later. They have a more say in it, especially the girls. They're definitely putting their foot down and everything. So it's all good. Any other questions?
There's all these TV programs that I watch. They brainwash you, don't they? It's not just me. I'm just trying to clear things up. I'm just trying to set social.
Okay guys, I think that's enough of me today. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to help yourself to the food and look at the clothing. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.